the guy that usually sits in this chair, Brian Hayes, has been hammering that the Leafs need to win a negotiation. And I think a lot of people after today are saying the Leafs finally won a negotiation. It's a 4-year deal for John Tavares at $4.38 million per season. So the former captain is back at a number that if he becomes your third line center, you're okay with that number. And a guy who scores 38 goals last season could have made a lot more money if he went to the free agency market on July 1st. And so it's a day where a lot of Leaf fans not only are happy about the news, but I think a guy who is already popular is even more popular in the city.
Yeah, I think there's a few different layers to this. First of all, yes, the Leafs won the negotiation. John Tavares clearly wanted to stay, but you have him at a number now where if he starts next year as your second line center, it's okay. Like it's fine. But as the duration of the contract moves on, you can easily slide him to the wing or be your third line center. And quite honestly, 4.38 for a third line center is going to be seen as very, very cheap in the not so distant future. So they did great that way. As far as John Tavares goes, like people will point to the DNA needing to change. In a way, like it should be pointed out, this is a little bit of a change because he didn't get every last penny's worth. He left a lot on the table now. So you could say that, the days of the star guys kind of holding the team hostage, John Tavares has said that's not the case anymore, at least for him. So that's significant as well. This is a really very positive news for the Toronto Maple Leafs on like a number of different fronts here.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this is groundbreaking stuff by Brad Treliving. Mm-hmm. Forget about John Tavares leaving something on the table. Like it takes two to tango, and For Brad Treliving to get him at $4.38 million cap hit, which includes the deferred money, which is a nice little structure there where he's going to save some taxes by getting his money deferred down the road. And obviously it helps the Leafs in lowering the cap number. I mean, this is what we've all been clamoring for. This is what this team has deserved. The respect that it means something to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you have to price that in. Like if you say, I want nothing more than to be a Leaf, put your money where your mouth is. And Brad Treliving was actually the first executive in this town in the Core 4 era to say, put your money where your mouth is. Understand that to wear this crest means something. Understand, by the way, we can talk about the financial sacrifice, but don't cry too hard for John Tavares because being a lifetime Leaf, living in this town as a retired Leaf, very lucrative business, and especially if you ever win something.
And you know what? We probably won't talk about the $11 million deal anymore. We're going to talk about John Tavares leaving a lot on the table on this one because there would have been teams that would have paid him $7.5, $8 million.
For sure.
For sure. And in the same division, they would have paid him that much money. And meanwhile, Tavares said, you know what? I just want to be in Toronto. And like the Matt Duchene contract came up when he signed for $4.5 with Dallas. And now Tavares is in an area that has much higher tax, and he took less money. So we throw that comparison out the window. Like this, John Tavares did himself some favors here as far as like what his PR, the optics are going to be, how he's viewed moving forward.
Yeah, and again, we talk about the no tax state advantage. We've made a lot about that because the Florida teams have done really well in a no tax state. In Florida, Dallas has done well in Texas with a similar situation. But I spent some time last week talking to tax guys and financial services guys, and there's ways to mitigate your taxes in Canada. So the idea that these guys are paying through the nose, if you get signing bonuses, which this deal includes, you pay a lower tax rate. If you get deferred money in what they call a retirement compensation agreement, an RCA, that is taxed at a lower rate. So there's ways you can kind of make up for what is perceived as just this blanket disadvantage that Canadian teams have and high tax state teams have. But if you're creative, which is what this deal is, you can make the player whole, to use that sort of financial term, by using those vehicles, as long as the guy at the table across from you, in the player, is being reasonable and understanding that if he wants to stay here, he's got to play ball.
And that works because of his age too, right? With the bonuses?
No, so he'll get the signing bonuses. Like he'll get all kinds of money up front as signing bonuses. He can't sign the 35 plus deal yet because he's not 35 yet. Like Claude Giroux can do that. Right. Taze could have did that. Ben, yeah, exactly. But you know what else this helps with? It's a little bit more Matthew Nyes insurance when it comes to the offer sheet, right? Because even if you had to capitulate a little bit to Tavares and say, okay, we'll get you up to call it 5.38 just for easy math. So another $1 million. You've essentially saved $1 million flexibility for, now you can spend on July 1st and not feel like you're as, worried about the offer sheet. You have a little more flexibility that way. So he's given them some Matthew Nyes insurance, and he's basically given them a little bit of wiggle room to say, okay, you can go out and try and spend an extra $1 million on a UFA that you think is really going to help us because we know Mitch Marner's leaving.